Okay, should be live.
Welcome to the Critical Christian Podcast. We're your hosts, Dan.
And Justin, we ask critical questions about the Bible and provide questionable answers. And we are in perhaps the most riveting couple chapters of Exodus.
We are. Apparently, Exodus is very boring then.
Well, tomato, tomato, right?
Oh, yes.
Um,
Potato, potato.
you could say this is a quite brazen chapter. No, no, I didn't get it. Oh, damn it.
Brazen.
Because of the brazen altar?
Brazen?
The bronze colored altar? You've never heard of the brazen altar?
Oh, yeah, good job. Brazen. I thought you said frozen.
Brosen?
Yeah, and I was like, what is that?
Certainly would.
Yeah. All right. Brazen, that's funny. All right.
My meat is never brosen, only fresh. So we're in Exodus 27. We're going to be talking about the bronze altar.
Oh my.
And even more exciting, the courtyard.
Okay.
And that's really about all there is after that, other than we get to the oil, that they're going to be burning, which, unfortunately we're not going to be talking about the festival of lights or anything like that when celebrate the oil not going out. We have to wait till we get to the book of Maccabees for that.
Maccabees?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a book in the Bible.
Well, sure, but where?
It's in the Deuterocanonical section.
Deuterocanonical.
Yeah.
So it's after Deuteronomy?
That's not quite what that means. There's two Greek words happening there. So deutero means like second, and canonical is referring to the canonical text. So deuterocanonical text means it's in the second canon.
Oh.
Same thing with Deuteronomy means the second giving of the law. Nomos in Greek is law. So Deuteronomy is the second law.
Oh, and Leviticus is the first law giving?
Kind of. Exodus and Leviticus would be the first laws, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because remember in Deuteronomy, Moses is retelling the laws right before they enter the promised land.
Okay.
So there are theoretically 40 years roughly that passed between the giving of the law and then Moses giving it a second time.
That makes sense.
Make sense?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, but anyways,
I'll just look forward to Maccabee then.
Maccabees is fun.
Wherever it is in the Bible.
I mean, there's lots of good history.
Unless it's, is it an Apocrypha or is it in the actual Bible?
Yeah, so the Apocrypha and the Deuterocanonical books are considered the same typically.
Oh, okay. So it's not in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
No, I mean the real Bible.
It's in the real Bible.
Oh, okay. It's one of the 66.
It literally has been in the Bible for nearly 2,000 years.
Yeah, but I bet it's pretty short.
They literally just started taking them out in the late 1800s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
In fact, we've already been through this. My 1823 King James Bible back here still has it.
Yeah.
I mean, they just stopped taking them out.
So now there's going to be 65 books.
No, depending on what canon you have, there's 72 or 88 or 66.
66.
That's the wrong one. That's the one that's missing the Apocrypha.
Right.
Which is wrong.
I mean,
the Apocrypha was accepted by all the church councils, by all the church fathers, even by the Protestant fathers, even the Anabaptists, when they broke off and started the Baptists and the Mennonites and the Hutterites and everybody else, and also the Amish. They quoted from the Book of the Maccabees. I've got writings from the Reformation era from all the Protestants, and even the Protestants were quoting from the apocryphal books as though they were scripture.
Until what time?
It wasn't until the 1800s that they started taking them out of the Bibles.
1800s?
The late 1800s.
Oh. We must have developed a lot of technology.
It's a very recent movement, and people just want it to be a traditionalist movement, but it's not.
Why do you think they've done that?
Because they're ignorant. Because less than 50% of pastors today actually have an education. The reason why they started removing it was because people weren't reading it, and it was cheaper to print it without it.
That's just that can't be true.
So manufacturers and Bible publishers started putting the apocryphal texts in like their own section because they were like poo-pooing on the canonicity of it. And so they wanted to like take the apocrypha and move it to like the back of the Bible. In fact, even Martin Luther advocated for moving them, not taking them out, but for moving them. And so they were printing the Bible with the apocrypha for a long time on its own section, not mixed in with the other books. And eventually publishers were like, do we even need it? And people were like, oh, who cares? Take it out. But that's a recent move in history for
Now,
most of
Martin
history.
Luther, when was he around?
Martin Luther would have been in the late 1500s.
Okay, so it hasn't just been the 1800s, like you said. Even in the 1500s, they were talking about getting rid of it.
No, they weren't.
You said Martin Luther? Put it in the back of the Bible.
Not get rid of it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're putting something in the back, you're basically saying,
No, yeah, Martin Luther was one of the voices suggesting maybe it's not critical, but the rest of the church disagreed. The Orthodox disagreed. Most of the Protestants disagreed. The Catholics disagreed. That was just one voice among the crowd.
Hmm.
And the fact that it remained in all of the Bibles, despite Martin Luther's protestation, tells you exactly how important it was for a lot of people. So, um, the funny thing is, like, I got a 1611 King James Bible, and the 1611 King James Bible, um, had it removed. Like the original 1611 had the apocryphal text in it,
yeah,
but if you go to buy a 1611 Bible today, like a reprint,
yeah.
the publishers today won't give you the whole 1611. They'll give you the 1611 without the apocrypha
Why is that?
because they're idiots. But the original 1611 contained the apocrypha, just like the one I've got here.
Yeah.
And the Septuagint, if you get a copy of the Septuagint, you'll notice, unless this one removed them, you'll find that it includes the apocrypha as well. And so, like our earliest manuscripts in Greek that contain the whole Bible, Old and New Testament, like the Codex Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus and some of the other manuscripts, they typically included some or all of the apocryphal books. Let's see if this one this reprint included them or not. This one doesn't. But you can go online and look at all the books that were listed in the early codices, and you'll discover in both the Latin and the Greek Bibles that were printed, most of them included the apocryphal books.
So how many books is that if you include everything
Well,
that they used to include, I guess?
well, that is a disputable question because some people think that first and second Maccabees should be included, but third and fourth doesn't need to be included. Some would say that like first Esdras should be included, but second Esdras shouldn't be included.
Why?
Well, it comes down to the dating of the texts
Okay.
and when they turned up in history. So like it seems like at least parts of second Esdras was written long after Jesus,
Oh,
but it's like
okay.
purportedly talking about stuff that happened before Jesus.
Yeah.
And so people think that it's got some dubious origins.
Mhm.
The same with third and fourth Maccabees, even though first and second Maccabees are indeed pretty ancient. It seems like third and fourth Maccabees might have come much later. They weren't part of the original two writings. So there's that. And of course, the New Testament quotes from the Apocrypha too on a number of occasions. And there's a bunch of ideas, like the concept of hell
Mhm.
doesn't show up in the Old Testament, but it's all over the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha has a pretty well developed idea of a resurrection and a judgment and the heaven and hell afterlife.
Those
All of that's in the Apocrypha, but you don't find it in the Old Testament unless your Old Testament has the Apocrypha. So, like, that's why there's this huge departure in the New Testament in terms of like what they think about the afterlife
Mhm.
compared to what the Old Testament says. But this is only because the Old Testament in most modern Bibles have the Apocrypha removed. If you add the Apocrypha back in, you'll get that development. It's in there.
And the Apocrypha, they're short books, real quick.
Some of them are
Okay.
short, like
I mean,
the
we don't
Wisdom
have.
of Solomon. It can be a little
Well,
long to
well, you
read.
probably don't need that.
Sirach can take a while to read. Maccabees is a slog.
Oh, it is.
It can be.
It sounded like it would be short if 4 of them.
The additions to Daniel read really quickly. You can read those in like one bathroom break.
There are some books that are like a page and a half or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yep. The additions to Daniel are like that. Judith is pretty short. You can read Judith. That's not a hard read. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend reading the Apocrypha. Like it's such a good bridge to add to your understanding of what happened between the Old Testament and the New Testament era, like
Mhm.
in that gap of 400 years. It fills it in beautifully.
Mm.
And it'll answer a lot of questions about why were there such large disagreements between the Jews and the early Christians. Because a lot of the Jews didn't accept some of those books as being canonical, and some of the Jews did. And the Jewish groups that accepted those books as being canonical happened to be the Christians.
Oh, okay.
And what happened was, 400 something years later, when Jerome came around, he was tasked with taking the Latin manuscripts of the Bible and updating them into a more organized system of manuscripts. And so he had to go back and brush up on his Greek and his Hebrew. And when he went back to visit the rabbis so he could learn Hebrew from the professionals, he discovered that the Jewish rabbis didn't hold the Apocrypha as canonical. And so Jerome was the first person to be like, well, if the Jews don't believe they're canonical, why do we?
Mhm.
But if he was familiar with the writings of the church father, he would know because the early church fathers made a very hearty defense of the Apocrypha. And even guys like Justin Martyr railed against the Jews, blaming them for a conspiracy, literally saying that there's a conspiracy with the Jews to take away some of these apocryphal works because they talk about Jesus.
Oh,
So there was a big movement in the early church defending the Apocrypha. It wasn't until you get to Jerome in the 4th century that anyone even questioned whether or not the Apocrypha was canonical.
now when were these written? Say it lets us know in the 400 years. But is that when they were written or when they were purported to be?
Well, some of them are even older than other biblical books. So, example, First and Second Maccabees, Tobit, and Sirach were most assuredly written before the Book of Daniel. We've got First and Second Maccabees were written in Greek, but it seems to be that they're probably written in Greek like as we know it from the time of Alexander.
Okay.
And so they're just as old, if not older, than the book of Daniel. Certain sections of Daniel are really quite late, even though they're purporting to be written during Daniel's time period,
So when?
like 2nd century.
So like 200?
Yeah.
But no. We need something that was written between.
Yeah. Well,
You're saying those.
they were.
You said 2nd century.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Daniel is the lone wolf between the ending of the Old Testament era and the beginning of the New Testament era. Theoretically, if you take those conceptions,
Okay.
but most Christians don't see it that way. Most Christians think Daniel is from like the 6th century, the end of the 6th century, because he's writing from Babylon.
Okay, so the year 60.
What? 60?
6th century is the 60?
In the middle of the 500s is the 6th century.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm good at this.
Because the first century would be 0 to 100.
Okay.
So it's always one numerical digit
But we
off.
need them to be before Jesus.
What?
The ones
The the Apocrypha?
Yeah.
They are.
All of them?
Only if you take out, some of them. Like, I don't think 2nd Esdras was written before Jesus. 1st Esdras was. Same is true with 1st and 2nd Maccabees. 1st and 2nd Maccabees are pretty old. I think 3rd and 4th Maccabees were written after Jesus.
Do you think they're not
Right.
legitimate?
I don't No, I don't think those books are legitimate, no.
Okay. Oh.
And in fact, a lot of the early church didn't either. Like even the early church fathers that included the book of Maccabees
Yeah.
only included 1st and 2nd. They didn't include 3rd and 4th books
Okay.
because they knew that they had dubious origins. Same with Esdras. There was some commentary in the early church about whether or not Esdras 1 and 2 should be included or just 1.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I kind of agree with the early church commentary. I think Esdras 2 was a little dubious.
Because of when it was written, or because of what was written?
Both. So
Okay.
2nd Esdras 2 is really an interesting passage, especially when you get to like chapter 7, because not only it seemed to be written after Jesus, but it seems to be writing purposely about Jesus. Like it's making Jesus the fulfillment of Daniel chapter 7 in like this magnificent way. And it almost seems to be quoting from the Gospels.
Okay.
So if it's quoting from the Gospels,
Mm-hmm.
either it's the greatest, coincidence of all time, or it was just written after the Gospels and they're quoting from the Gospels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if 2nd Esdras came after the Gospels were already written, then I would say that it was probably kind of written with an agenda to pretend to be old
Mm.
to give credence to Jesus.
But you said there was proof of Jesus in some of the Apocrypha.
Justin Martyr did. I disagree with Justin Martyr's exegesis of the Apocrypha. I don't think anything in the Apocrypha, other than there's one passage in the Wisdom of Solomon that could be likened to a suffering servant, kind of like what you see in Isaiah 53. But it's pretty clear that it's not a prophecy, and it's pretty clear that it's not about a Messiah either. But if you just kind of strip it from its context and
Right.
read it without knowing what's happening around it,
Mm-hmm.
it does kind of sound a little bit like Isaiah 53. And Justin and others in the early church did kind of pick up on that at certain points. But hey, this kind of sounds a lot like you know who.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Okay, that's interesting.
So all I'm saying is the idea that the Apocrypha just isn't legitimate is maybe an argument if you're Jewish. I don't think it's an argument if you're Christian. If you're Christian, you have to accept it. There's foundational texts in there that you need for the New Testament to make sense. And everybody in the church up until just modern times treated them like they were canonical. So
Now, 200 years from now, this won't be mine, right?
right, but and you know what? Most new Bibles nowadays are including them. So, for example, if you get any one of the Catholic translations, like the NABR, the NRSV, it'll include it. The new Jerusalem Revised Edition has it now. In fact, you'll also get it in the hold on. You'll get it in the new SBL Study Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll get it in the Westminster Study Bible.
You with your Bibles.
So, a lot of the academic study Bibles include them because they're familiar with the history, you know. But being that most Christians nowadays don't know anything about it, rather than gaining understanding, they just assume that since my Bible doesn't have it, they must not be scripture.
Mm. When in reality, they're just trying to save some money.
That's really what it comes down to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
The end.
long conversation about that. Should we jump into the text?
Okay. Hey, Justin.
Mhm.
Are you thinking of building a bronze altar?
You know, I had some thoughts. No, okay, no.
I'm also not thinking of building a bronze altar. Therefore, it would appear that this chapter means nothing to
Well, I mean, can you apply bronze altars to your life as a Christian?
me. No?
Not really, no.
Okay, okay.
Okay. But is it interesting?
No?
That's the wrong
I
answer.
mean, yes.
God's word is always interesting, Dan.
All right. Well, you'll have to interest me in it then, because it's not. I mean, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to
Mhm.
think of comments.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
I don't know how many times I can talk about acacia wood and cubits and bronze and whatever.
I understand. Good thing we only have 2 more books of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So 3 years and we're done.
right. I mean, as a avid woodworker, I would assume you would enjoy this section.
Because it mentions wood.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
Well, and acacia wood's a lovely wood.
I'm sure it is. I don't have any though.
Fair enough.
I should go buy some so I can immerse myself in this.
Alright, well, let's do this then. Let's read this section, and then we can talk about your wood.
Okay. Anyhow, so I used the New American Standard. I assume that's the correct one finally.
Nope, it's still the wrong one, and I changed mine so it would match yours since
Okay.
I assumed you weren't gonna get it right.
Well, you didn't know which one I picked until you knew which one I picked.
But yeah, but you uploaded your notes to the drive, so I
Oh, I
knew.
see. You didn't read my notes, did you?
No, not
That's
yet.
cheating.
Not reading your notes at
Then you
all.
won't laugh at my joke.
I would never wanna ruin your jokes.
Thank you. So which one is it?
Which one is what? Say it every week. In fact, I if you're watching this right now, you've seen any of the last 10 weeks, you know exactly what the translation should be. It should be the NRSV.
NRSV.
Yeah, I think you'd write this down.
NRN.
You know, you can just go to the beginning of any of our last 10 videos and watch like the first 5 minutes if you forget and be like, "Oh yeah, that's what it was."
I'll just ask my wife.
Did it work?
Well, I didn't ask her yet.
Fair enough.
We were actually talking about this today.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that sounds like the one I did, but I guess it won't.
Mhm.
All right, I'll ask her before doing notes for the next section.
Yeah. I feel like Sisyphus.
Yeah, I get little bolder. All right.
Anyways, let's dive right in. Looks like you lumped verse 1 all the way to verse 8 into one reading
This is
unit.
what I'm saying. We're gonna be done in 10 minutes.
I don't think that's the way that works.
Do you
Go
want
ahead
me
and
to like stop reading sooner? If you have, I mean, do you have something to say about all this?
I'll have some things to say, but go ahead and read.
Now you shall make the altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horns shall be of one piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. And you shall make its pails for removing its ashes, and its shovels, its basins, its forks, and its fire pans. You shall make all of its utensils of bronze. You shall also make it for it a grating, a netting of bronze, and on the netting you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. And you shall put it under the ledge of the altar, so that the netting will reach halfway up the altar. You shall also make carrying poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. Its poles shall be inserted into the rings, so that the poles will be on the 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. You shall make it hollow with planks, as it was shown to you on the mountain, so they shall make it. You know
Bada
what
bing,
I
bada
think?
boom. Yeah, yeah. What's up?
I think that the Apocrypha is probably more important than this.
Actually, I don't disagree, but we got to talk about this anyways.
Well, it just seems weird that they're like, no, we got to include this, but they were fine with taking all that other stuff. Oh,
Right.
that was silly.
The interesting thing is, you know, we've got this altar made of wood, and it would have been really cool if it had survived
Yeah.
because, you know, most of the altars that we have from archaeology are stone because stone lasts longer. Unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of good representations of what this would have actually looked like in real
I don't know
life.
why not. Can it just petrify?
How?
And what do you mean how? Would petrify? And I mean, wouldn't it petrify very good in a desert where it's nice and dry?
Well, I mean, this is petrified wood
I
here,
know it is. That's why I mentioned
but
it.
how do you think wood petrifies?
The same way that did, because that's wood.
It's stone.
What are you?
It's
What
like
are you,
100,000 years.
what are you trying to say?
It's stone.
Yeah.
How's it going to petrify?
How is stone gonna petrify?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about wood.
No, this was
I
wood.
know it was.
Now it's
I
stone.
mean, it's still wood.
That's
Obvious.
it's not.
It's obvious.
That's not how wood petrification
It
works.
doesn't matter how it works. Listen, just because something has the properties of stone doesn't mean it isn't still wood.
What's the word petra mean?
Oh, I don't know.
It means stone.
Yeah, so it's making it like stone.
Petrification is the act of the wood being converted to stone because the wood deteriorates and is replaced with a mineralization process that forms stone in place of the wood. That's why you can see some of it's even crystalline in nature. It's stone
Why does it look like wood?
because it's formed in grains as the wood slowly deteriorated. And it doesn't typically happen in the desert.
Why not?
Feel it.
Don't it?
Hold it. It's stone.
Yeah, it's something.
It's just petrified wood.
Yeah, but the point is, I don't know. I thought the desert was a good place. Nice and dry.
You need lots of mineral.
Well, it could have a lot of minerals.
Actually, in the arid regions, like in the deserts, wood typically actually gets preserved, not petrified. In fact,
well, that's even better.
we've
For
got,
us, right?
I want to say we've got some ancient wells that have been pretty well preserved, but not petrified.
Well, it's even better to have them preserved because then that's what
I agree.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, though, unfortunately, we don't have any of these wooden altars, but we do
Well,
have.
why not?
Because the wood rotted and gone. This wood. Same reason why we don't have a lot of ancient papyrus.
Shouldn't it just be preserved?
How?
You just said in the desert it gets preserved,
Said sometimes things can get preserved in the desert.
but not all the time.
Obviously.
Obvious.
That's
Go on.
that's why all the wooden structures from 4,000 years ago are basically gone.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So let's get into some of the altars we do have.
Oh, okay.
So we've got some stone altars. These were for burning incense, and that's why they're so small. This is a very common style here. We're going to see this here in a second. This is one from Beersheba, which is near where Abraham's wells were. And this is another.
Beersheba. So that's one of the 7 wells.
Well, that's where the 7 wells were, yeah.
So that could have been one of the wells.
No, it wasn't a well. It was from the region of Beersheba. It was not a. It's an altar, obviously.
Oh, but that's where all those wells were, right?
Yeah, that's where all those wells were.
Nice.
Yeah, you remember that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
these aren't wells.
here's a larger one. Probably would have been used for animal sacrifice, but it's broken, so we're only getting part of it.
Well, when were these dated to or whatever?
Well, this one was from the Philistine territory of Gath, and it's probably dated to like the 7th or the 8th century, if I had to guess. One of these, this one's from the 8th or the 9th century. This is from Tel Dan. Actually, Tel Dan is the archaeological site where we first found the inscription referring to King David.
Oh,
One of the first inscriptions we ever had of King David came from the Tel Dan archaeological site. And then the other most famous one comes from the Moabite stone from the 9th or 8th century.
now this is in Israel or something?
Yeah.
In the current Israel?
Well, yeah, Israel didn't move.
Well, I'm just saying they just started digging up in the country and see what was in the ground.
I've been doing it for a long time. Like hundreds of sites. fact, you can do archaeological tourism. You can buy a ticket and go over there and stay on site for a week and dig with them.
Oh, really?
They'll teach you how to.
Can I just dig whatever I want?
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
They don't just give you a shovel and say go to town. A little more intricate than that. But anyways, there's lots of dig sites.
What if I had an idea for where the things would?
I would think the guys with the PhDs probably already ahead of you.
And if they aren't, here we are.
I don't know how you'd prove them wrong.
I'd
You could be the next Ron Wyatt.
I'd start digging.
Just pick a spot and dig, huh?
No, I'd use.
Actually, that's the great thing about
Math.
the ancient Near East is like, in the modern times, theoretically, you could legitimately just start digging anywhere
Yeah.
and eventually find something. Because the civilization's been there for so long.
Well, we should do that then. It
No,
doesn't work in America though.
no, not really. Anyways, the long and short of it is a lot of these altars had horns. Now, here's the thing about the altar. I think this is my favorite representation of the horns on the altar. You see how they're a little more square and a little bit less horned?
Yeah, I thought you said they broke off.
Well, it did, but the ones that aren't broke, you can see.
Oh,
Can
is
you
that
not?
one? Is that one not broken?
Do you see the horns?
I didn't know those were horns. To be
What?
quite honest,
What did you think they were?
just things that are pointy, cut upward.
They're horns. Oh, anyways, these are
They're just points,
altar
pointy things.
horns.
I mean, I understand it's another word for them, sure, but you have to admit, if somebody said, "What are those?" or if you said, "What are these?" somebody, they wouldn't say horns. They probably see pointy things.
Look at this. It looks like a horn.
No, it doesn't.
It looks just like a horn.
No, it doesn't.
You're crazy.
All right.
It's a horn.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's a horned altar.
Okay.
But I don't think this is how the one in the temple probably looked. I think it probably looked more. See, that's another horn, but I think it probably looked more like this horn.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. Here's my theory.
Yes.
Because I think they were using the horns of the altar to tie animals up to them when they were preparing to slaughter them. And so if you had a horn that was like this, the rope could slip off. Not that they couldn't have made it like this, but the rope could have slipped off if the animal really wanted to get away.
Oh, because it's smoothed out and goes to a point, and it could just fall off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used rope before.
And there's a passage in I think Psalm 118. Double check. Oop, I did P. I didn't want PDS. I want P. There you go. Psalm 118. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yeah, 118. And for giggles, we're gonna do New King James Version and go down to verse 27. There we go. And it says, He is the Lord, he has given us light. Bind the sacrifice with cords to the horns of the altar. So it seems like if they're capable of binding something to the horns of the altar, I would expect that the rope or whatever they were using to binding couldn't just slip off, right? So that's kind of why I'm thinking, and I mean it was a wood altar as well.
Still feel like it could slip off. Why didn't they make it, like this way? You know what I mean? You'd loop it around. Would that have been a lot?
Well, so that's the thing is these
just covered it, got a divot out of it.
These are horns.
Yeah,
made of wood.
I bet.
So
wait, is that wood?
No, it's clearly stone. So we don't know what they looked like. We don't have any preserved horned Israelite altars.
What are these?
Those are stone.
Are they Israelite altars?
Yeah.
They are.
They're all from the land of Israel, or this one is from Israel's neighbor. So Gath is where this is located, which is one of the cities of the Philistines.
And when was this made?
Well, I would imagine about the 9th or 8th century.
So that's like what year is that?
You don't know what the 9th century is?
Why don't you just tell me?
It's the 800s.
800s.
BCE.
Oh, so before. So okay, you gotta say BC. All
Well,
right.
I mean, I just assumed you would know
Don't do that.
that you thought they were building horned altars for sacrificing people in the medieval period?
Yeah.
Oh, Dan.
What? What?
You think they were doing sacrifices in the land of the Philistines during the medieval period?
I have no idea what the land of
The Muslims already took it
Philistines is.
over.
Okay.
They conquered it by then.
Okay. So my point is, this would have been an Israelite altar.
Well, no.
Oh, it's somebody else's.
Philistine altar.
Oh. Okay. So we look at this and we say, oh, I bet the Israelite one is similar.
Well, they were similar. These are all Israelite examples.
Oh, I thought you said they were Philistine.
No, just that one. Just this one is a Philistine altar.
Oh, what's the other ones?
Oh, these are all Israelite
So that
altars.
one's made out of wood then.
Nope, that's made of stone, clearly. Really struggling here.
You said the I don't know.
So
You said the Israelite ones were made out of wood, and so we didn't have them. We have to look at the stone ones that weren't made out of wood.
Exactly. We don't have any of the preserved Israelite altars in wood.
Right.
We only have stone examples.
Oh,
but I don't think that the wood altar looked identical to the stone altars.
Oh, why not?
Because you manufactured them differently. Like you can do things with stone that you wouldn't do with wood. Like to get this horn, this like a beveled or a rounded horn would be like really difficult to do in wood. How would you get that in wood?
I'm pretty sure it would be easier in wood than stone.
Why?
Wood is not stone.
Yeah, but wood naturally splits unrounded. It splits straight. Now, you could bend it, but you have to steam it.
I know how to bend wood. Thank you.
But do you think they were building steam boxes to steam wood and bend it?
Were they?
I mean, theoretically, you could carve it with a chisel. You could do that, but it's a lot of extra work.
When you cut wood out of a tree, it is cylindrical. So there's your cylinder right there.
When you cut it, it's not cylindrical.
Yeah.
It's not. No, the tree is cylindrical.
That's what I said.
You said when you cut it.
Yeah, they cut the tree.
No, as soon as you cut it, it becomes non-cylindrical.
That's not true.
Wood splits.
Okay,
flat.
Okay. Oh! Look at this. Is this flat? No. Oh, look. It's a.
Right. Yeah.
Just like that. See, this looks very similar to that.
Yeah, the tree itself is cylindrical. I'm aware.
So we agree.
But then you still have to carve it.
Well, you wouldn't have to. Did they have to carve this?
But that doesn't look like that.
It does, though, doesn't it?
Nope. Does it come to a point? I'm looking. No one can see what you're doing.
I mean, it's very simple. That's all.
It's not similar. One comes to a tip and one doesn't.
That's a tip.
There's no tip.
What is this then?
You mean the straight edge?
Yeah.
Not a tip. Not.
I think a straight edge and a tip are pretty much the same thing.
They're definitely not even close to the same thing. In Jewish tradition, they actually believed that the horns of the altar, the wooden altar that was overlaid with bronze, was hollow.
Okay.
Which would make more sense if it was
wood.
Wood. Like not wood, but more squarish than roundish.
Why is that?
Well, because if you're already making planks or boards of wood, and we know they're making a bunch of boards.
Yeah.
It'd be much easier to take some of those boards and to assemble them into rectangular horns as opposed to...
And I appreciate that, but I assume they had woodworkers.
They did.
And I doubt God was like, hey, I want them to be rounded. And they're like, we can't really do it. They were probably like, all right, we'll figure it out.
Well, see, that's the thing is he doesn't tell you how to make the horns.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we've got examples in stone of both rounded and non-rounded horns.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be, what would be the most economical method in wood?
Economical, I don't know. What about extravagant?
Well, they are kind of extravagant. Yeah.
I mean, God didn't seem to care about economics.
No, not so much.
Was pure gold.
I mean, the whole damn thing's being overlaid
right.
in bronze and other things in gold. Silver bases for the yeah. So you're right. I mean, the economics may not really matter, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know if I learned any.
I thi well, I don't know if you did either, but the fact of the matter is,
Yes.
I say all that to say this, we kinda have an idea of what the thing looked like,
Okay.
but we don't I mean, we don't know for sure because we don't have one.
Because we only have stone version.
That's right. Yeah, we only have stone versions, and the stone versions we have aren't all identical.
No. But the stone ones were made in the same time period as the wood ones, correct? We just don't have the wood ones.
Eh,
What does that mean?
we don't really know when the wooden ones would have been made. If I had
Well, I
to
mean, when the Israelites were doing their thing.
this would have been before the stone. See, the stone altars are for when you're stationary.
Okay.
A wood altar is when you're mobile.
Well, you can't pick the stone ones up?
I would imagine not like 1,000 pounds.
There's a lot of people there.
So you only have 2 poles to pick it up with.
I have a lot of are the poles long enough?
The poles are long enough, but
And-
the goal is to make it mobile,
Oh,
which is
there's-
why it's hollow and made of wood.
All right. You got a
So,
whole out stone.
While there were, for sure, like wooden altars and things like that were made, I think they would have been more during the nomadic periods.
So when they were in the 40 years of wandering around?
I would say just more generally, like when the people in the Levantine region, when they were more nomadic and
Mhm.
less assembled into giant cities, I would have expected to see more wooden altars.
You say Levantine, is that the Levant?
Mhm.
Nice.
Look at you.
Look at me, yeah.
Basically a scholar at this point.
I kind of am, yeah.
So there was definitely a nomadic period in the Levantine region where people were still kind of migrating a lot because there were a lot of herdsmen.
And this was before the Israelites came on the scene.
Well, before and during. So, I mean, it depends on what you mean by before. So, like, we know during the theoretical lifetime of Abraham, people were pretty heavily nomadic.
Okay.
And even into the time of like where we're at now, where the theoretical Moses would have lived, like in the 1400s,
Okay. BC.
there's still a lot of nomads. We read about nomads in the writings from
And these nomads would have them not for God, but for their false gods, right?
well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they would have said the same thing about Yahweh. They said
Well,
that's a
I don't care what they have to say.
the false god.
Nobody cares about that.
But yeah, so it wasn't as far as I can tell, it wasn't really until the Iron Age,
Okay.
like around the time of David, where we see a big shift from nomadism into the sedentary life.
Okay.
Certainly by the time we get to the divided monarchy, like in the 9th, 8th, and 7th century, there's a huge movement into city life and a huge movement out of city life. And this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of scholars of the Old Testament are suggesting that in the later writings of the Old Testament, like some of the parts of Chronicles and Ruth and whatnot, that they kind of paint this idea of like shepherding and nomadism. They kind of paint it as like a simpler, easier, more preferred way of life. Like you know how we do in America, where we're like, oh, things were better back in the day. Things were easier and better, and the country was greater.
Yeah.
They were doing the same thing with nomadism, in the exilic and post-exilic period, which tells me that they had been civilized long enough that they felt like they kind of lost the nomadism.
Okay.
Right? So somewhere around the beginning of the Iron Age, there's definitely a big shift from nomadism. It took a couple hundred years into city life. And there's pushback against it too. If you read a lot of the writings from ancient Babylon, they really idolize city life. And the writers of the Old Testament pushed against that a bit.
Why?
Well, because not only was it in disagreement with how their religion started, it started with a bunch of nomads. So they, wanted to emphasize that. But also, they just wanted to differentiate themselves from the Babylonians. So, like in Babylon, in fact, the city, the idea of building cities was given to humans by the gods. Like the humans didn't invent it,
Oh, that's ridiculous.
right?
I mean, nomads are basically just cities that move, right?
Kind of. Well, especially
Damn.
with what we have now, because we've got 2.5 million people in the desert.
Yeah.
If that's not a moving city, I don't know what is.
Right. Pretty bad.
You've seen the aftermath from the giant concerts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can only imagine it'd be way worse than
Like
that.
Woodstock 99, I think it was.
Right.
It's a mess.
Gotta be bad.
Or, I mean, New Year's Eve at Times Square.
Oh, right, yeah. Except they didn't have the diapers.
Yeah, so they just had to dig a hole.
Basically, yeah, you're right. Deuteronomy 23. Okay, so that's probably enough talk about altars.
All right, good.
For now.
Right, yeah.
But it's important to recognize that this altar was, by the way, in the courtyard.
Okay.
This is not an altar that was in the Holy of Holies. They're not killing the animal inside of God's most holy place.
Oh, they didn't do that in there.
There's going to be some blood here and there, and we'll get to that.
I thought that didn't Moses spray blood on people or something?
There's going to be blood sprinkling in the Holy of Holies.
Remember that?
I'm aware, yes.
Okay,
During
so
the covenant.
you can sprinkle blood, but you can't, kill them.
Yeah, you're not, as far as I recall, there's no killing of the animal inside of the Holy of Holies. You only sprinkle the blood inside of the Holy of Holies. And it's really weird because God commands a lot of killing, but even God at certain points will distance himself from the killing. So for example, when God informs David that he's not going to build a temple, he says, your son's going to do it. Solomon's going to do it. It said on 2 different occasions that the reason for this is because you were a king of war.
Oh.
And there's much blood on your hands, which is a weird thing that God would call David to be a warring king, to kill men, women, and children in battle. And then when it came time to build a temple, it's like, well, you got a lot of blood in your hands. Like, you told him to do it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That
is kind of odd.
So there's a little bit of weird messaging in that, like, God needs you to shed blood. But also, if you shed too much blood, there's like a line that you cross. Like, so it's hard to know where that line is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nobody tells you.
All right. Yeah, no one really tells you.
Scroll all the way down, would you?
On your notes?
Yeah, all the way down.
Okay.
All right, all the way down.
You did a lot of notes. That's all of them.
Wow, that was all my notes?
Yep.
I thought I had other notes.
Apparently not.
Wait a minute. Just talk about something.
So you added notes, but you didn't actually add them to the notes
wait
that we had available.
Wait a minute.
You didn't upload them?
Just wait a minute.
You were so excited reading about the courtyard of the Tabernacle that you forgot to upload your notes to the drive. I get it. I'd be excited too. Have you seen that courtyard?
We're just gonna start over.
It's the most courtyardy courtyard you've ever seen.
Oh boy. Do you want me to upload these now?
They should have renamed it the Courtyard of Killing. That would make the chapter way more exciting. I mean, it's accurate.
It does roll off the tongue, too.
Doesn't it really? What if they called it the Kill Yard?
Oh, the Kill Yard.
Could you imagine how many more teenagers you can get to read the Bible if you renamed the sections like the Killing Grounds? I mean, make it like a Stephen King horror headline. They'd read that for sure.
All right. Go look for my thing.
Oh, did you update them?
This sucks. Yeah, we're going to have to start all over.
I don't think so.
Well, we're going to do something.
I don't see your notes.
No. It's a different one.
Oh, it's a different document?
Yeah. You
uploaded 2 different documents of notes.
I don't know. I don't know what I did, but it should be in here now.
I worry about your sanity sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding.
What, was it this one?
All right, try that one.
That's what I have open.
We'll try it now.
Okay.
Okay, don't try that one. Okay, hold.
Good thing we're live. Don't.
Look! I have it, and I have notes there.
Well, it looks like you're gonna have to read it off your phone then.
Where is it? I shared it with. Oh, how about go find things that were shared with you?
Oh, you didn't upload it to the drive. You just did the share.
I uploaded it to mine because I was going to upload it to yours, but I didn't have access to it on my phone because it's a new phone.
Okay, so here's your new notes in a font that's completely unreadable because you're incapable of using standardized fonts.
Okay, whatever. The point is I have notes. All right, I'm going to start reading them. I had some good stuff. I knew I had some good stuff.
I'm sure you did, but you have to read the passage first. We still haven't read the passage.
But it doesn't matter. I have no... All right. So
I know you're just excited about having notes.
All right. So verse 1, we did something.
Oh boy.
I think we've kind of exhausted the acacia wood discussion. It's made out of cubits.
What format did you make these in?
Well, I don't know.
It's not even readable.
Well, I didn't say.
Hold on. I got to see if I can copy and paste a format over.
I don't know what I did.
I don't know what you did either. There's like 5 lines between. How did you do your letters, your word spacing here?
I don't know. It just was what.
I'm gonna put this on the screen.
Do it.
Look at these notes, guys.
I don't care.
It's like 6 lines between pairs, and then his actual notes are completely unreadable. All right, sorry. Okay, I'll try to make your notes actually readable.
All right.
I mean, can you read them?
I can read them.
Okay, I don't know what you did to them, but they're type set 18. There we go. Type 19 size font with 30 lines between 30 spaces between lines. What do you call that when to be between the lines? The spacing.
Line spacing.
Yeah. What's the? How do you measure it though? What's it measured in?
Cubits.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going with cubits.
I think we should.
You got 30 cubits between. All right, let's read.
Nope. All right, I'm going to talk about the horns.
You want to do more horns?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually had notes for this stuff.
I had no idea.
Well, now you do.
So you didn't actually share them with me, so we didn't get to read your notes.
That's why right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't write them just for myself, so.
Fair enough.
All right, so let me ask you a question.
All right. Fire away.
Were they called horns simply because they looked like horns, or was there some relation to like gods? Because I know back in the day, like the gods, used to be like half animal. You know what I mean? Before like God, they started sacrificing for God only. You know what I mean? Because it seems weird you would call them horns otherwise, because they have such a evil connotation. You know what I mean?
I don't.
Horn is not a good thing, right?
What's not good about it?
Oh, it's the devil.
What?
When you say the word horn, people think of the devil. Right?
I don't.
What do you think of?
I don't think of the devil.
Well, you think of evil things.
No.
You don't?
No.
Come on now.
Not at all. Not even in the slightest.
What do you think of?
Think of a protrusion. I mean, if I think of anything particular, it's like an animal horn.
All right, fine.
Why would I think of the devil?
Because that's what I think of.
Why?
Because we're in the Bible and we're talking about horns. And
is there a deviled horn in the Bible somewhere?
The devil's in the Bible.
Is he pictured with horns anywhere?
In art, he is.
But not in the Bible. There's no horns on the devil in the Bible.
Then why did we put them on?
People would be crazy. Same reason why cherubs are little babies with wings.
Does people be crazy?
Yeah.
People
would be crazy. Yeah, there's no horned devil in the Bible.
Well, whatever.
I can understand why you might have that misconception because, history has done some things.
Right, yeah.
Right.
All right. All right, we can go to the court and its hangings, all right?
Right.
All right.
I don't know what to do with your notes though. They're
It's fine. I'll read them myself on my phone.
It's impossible to follow what you've got here.
Yeah, well.
You're just gonna read them from your phone though?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we need to read verses 9 through 19.
9 through 10.
9 through 10, okay.
All right. Now you shall make the courtyard of the tabernacle. Now you shall make the courtyard of the tabernacle. On the south side there shall be hangings for the courtyard of fine twisted linen, 100 cubits long for one side, and its pillars shall be 20 with their 20 bases of bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be of silver.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the wrong version.
What do you mean?
Well, because it's got a different.
So you've got two different sets of notes with two different versions in your notes. I wonder how you get your shoes on sometimes.
My wife helps.
So you can't even get the same version in your own notes.
It's a version.
Mhm.
Well, okay, fine. We're just gonna speed past this.
Right.
Whatever. Nobody cares.
Well, we are in the NASB, which is what you had at the top of your first set of notes.
Yeah, but this one must not be then.
But whatever you're reading from on your phone clearly is not.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
It's not weird. It just sounds like something you would do.
Oh, well, it's still weird.
Just haphazardly copy and paste text without formatting it or figuring out what translation you're getting it from.
It looks fine on my phone.
I'm sure it does.
Sort of. Actually, it's really tiny on there, too.
I know. I see that.
Okay, whatever. Let's just keep going. We'll do 11 to 13.
Hashtag pray for Dan's wife.
Yeah.
She needs all the prayer she can get, guys.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, right. Okay, so I got a question.
Okay.
Why we keep getting a description of bases, like the base of like the walls or the different things like that. Why are all the bases made of silver? It's such a weird metal to use.
Is that what people are walking on?
No, I
don't
think
know
it's
what a base is.
like like a baseboard in a house.
What's that?
Oh gosh, look right there. That's a baseboard in my house.
Where?
The white board at the bottom of the wall.
Oh, is that a baseboard?
It's called a baseboard.
Oh.
Okay, so the bases of all
those
these
are just there so you hit that instead of the wall, right?
Well, kind of.
Oh, that's all. That's their only purpose.
Well, sometimes they're just ornamental.
Well, yeah, obviously ornamental.
But the bases in the tabernacle were like holding stuff up because it didn't.
These don't hold anything up.
But I'm not saying that
No, I'm just saying ours don't.
I'm aware that my baseboard's not holding up my walls. My question is, why do you think that the only thing up to this point that's been made out of silver are the bases?
I don't think that's true, though. We've had a lot of things made out of silver.
Like what?
I don't know, but a lot of things.
Like what?
You really think it's only been bases this whole time?
Yeah.
Nothing else is made out of silver.
So far, I think it's only bases.
I don't believe that.
Look, we can do a word search on the last chapter.
Let's do it because I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
It's possible that I'm wrong.
Oh, you are.
Okay, so do Exodus 26.
Yeah.
Now we'll just do 26 through 27. And we'll do a word search for silver. So you'll make 40 sockets.
A socket.
Listen, you'll make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards. The NRSV and others just says bases.
Does it?
It does.
Okay.
And then it says for the second side of the tabernacle, blah, 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 to be 20 boards and there are 40 sockets of silver. So the bases, the sockets that the boards plug into are made of silver. In fact, if we go to back to the translation we should be using, try this again.
Wow, that's 6
And
letters.
It says bases of silver, right? So the bases are all made of silver, it seems like. Bases of silver. The hooks of the pillars and their bands. Oh, we have something that's not a base.
Oh, good.
We've got silver bands.
Oh, I've been vindicated.
And silver hooks.
Okay.
Anything else?
It doesn't matter. I've been vindicated. I don't care what else says.
So the pillar banding is made of silver, which I think they're using to hold the wood together for the pillars. I doubt the pillars are solid. So it's like like oak barrel banding. You know what I mean?
No, obviously
Um,
not. Why would I know what oak barrel banding is?
These guys, these hoops. You ever seen these on an oak barrel?
Oh, well, yeah, I've seen like a barrel like that.
Right. That's what they're saying is going to go on the pillars.
They're
Is
just trying to give it more structurally soundness.
what it holds it together.
That's what I just said. Structurally soundness.
Sure.
Same thing.
I guess so. The long and short of it is, it looks like the uses for silver appear to only be structural. There we go, and less ornamental.
That's weird. Isn't silver kind of a soft metal?
It's not as soft as gold.
Well, no, it's not, but it is pretty soft. I don't know why they wouldn't use bronze.
Is gold or silver heavier? I think gold's heavier, isn't it?
That's very believable.
Let's see.
But I'm just saying, I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
I think gold is right. Yeah, gold is heavier than silver because it has a lighter density.
That's wonderful.
Quite significantly, it looks like.
Yeah, but I mean, you can easily make little dents in silver, can't you?
Yeah, silver you can still dent.
And bronze, you can't, right?
Bronze is a little harder.
Yeah, why didn't they use bronze then?
For what?
Whatever, the bands.
Well,
Or honestly, why would they use silver for the baseboards, as you were saying?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
It seems weird that they keep using silver, but only for like structuring the wood. Why would they just use silver for that?
You know, if we use silver for like these baseboards, that would be a lot of silver.
Oh my God, my house would be worth so much money if my baseboards were made out of silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I don't
Why
know
don't
if
they
it's
just
weird.
nail like a board to it like we do?
They did.
Yeah, but their boards were silver.
And my wall is full of boards because it's old. I got plaster walls.
Yeah, but they're not silver boards.
No, unfortunately, they're not silver. Yeah.
And if they were, you wouldn't tell.
Seems
people here.
impractical.
Well, yeah. So, all right, go ahead. Tell me why they did it.
Did what?
Put silver on their baseboards.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Don't ask me these questions that you don't know the answer to.
I'm just spitballing.
I didn't learn anything.
So I didn't learn anything either. I'm just seeing if there's a.
Well, then there must be a reason. Okay.
Well, I'm sure there is. I just don't know what it is.
Oh, I should have asked the computer this one while you were talking.
I don't know if there is a good answer. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, he's gonna say something.
Okay, ask Chat GPT and see what happens.
I'm doing it.
Oh boy.
Was this in the courtyard, right?
This is in the courtyard, yeah. Let me know what you find out.
Tabernacle.
Uh-huh.
These things will give you the answer to anything, you know?
I mean, they're not good answers, but
Well, hold on. It's a symbolic system in which materials carried specific meanings.
mm-hmm.
Bam. All right.
What's the silver mean?
It says it was made from the silver collected in the census.
We're aware of this, yeah.
Okay. Nice. So I was right.
We still don't know what the meaning of and the purpose of the silver is.
Well, silver is often representative of redemption or atonement.
That's not in the Bible anywhere.
It says it is.
Ask it for a source.
I don't need to. Let's see. Oh, see, look. And so if silver represents redemption, it says right here, the fact that these were made from this, it suggests that the place where God's presence dwelled was built upon the redemption of his people.
That's an adorable claim.
Yeah.
It's not rooted in reality. Because there's silver and there's gold and there's bronze and there's wood. The question is, why did they choose to use silver only as baseboards or base holders for the boards?
I just told you.
You didn't.
It's symbolic.
Well, everything is symbolic if you want to use the Bible metaphorically. Also, silver's not a redemptive metal.
I'm getting some proof that it is.
Okay.
All right. Leviticus, when someone sinned against the holy things of the Lord, they had to offer silver shekels.
And if they were buying property, because silver was the currency of the day. That
The re-
doesn't make it redemptive.
The redemption price for firstborn sons was set in silver.
I know, because that was the money of the day was silver. Abraham bought his burial plot in silver.
Or the prophecy of the betrayal of Jesus connects silver with redemption, if you will remember.
There's no prophecy of anyone being betrayed for silver.
Well, it says there was in Zechariah.
Zechariah doesn't have a prophecy about anyone being betrayed.
Well,
It's a quote from Zechariah chapter 12.
11. 12 to 13.
Chapter 11?
And they weighed out as my wages 30 pieces of silver.
I thought that was Zechariah 12.
And the Lord said to me, throw it in the potter.
Right.
Lordly price. So, yeah.
And who's speaking?
Oh, I don't know.
And who's betrayed?
What? Well, obviously, Jesus is
obviously
betrayed.
Not. Zechariah is a performative prophecy where God has the prophet act out the wicked shepherd role. So the person who's throwing the money back is a shepherd performing an act. Nobody gets betrayed in that prophecy because it's not even a prophecy about betrayal.
Okay, whatever. How's this? Peter contrasts silver with the ultimate redemption through Christ. Huh?
He didn't.
You are not redeemed with perishable things like silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ.
He said silver or gold,
yeah,
which means it's just a generic reference to money.
All right, anyhow.
This is why ChatGPT is not a good source.
It seems like
it just reads you nonsense off the internet from like your grandmother's email forward from somebody's blog website. Doesn't actually analyze anything.
It feels right to me, so
I'm sure it does.
I'm gonna keep with that because it seems good. Silver does feel like it's redemptive, doesn't it?
Nope.
Okay.
This is the worst supported thesis I've ever heard in my life.
What? Why did they give Judas 30 silvers?
Because that was what the money was. That was the currency.
Why didn't they give him gold?
Silver was the currency. In fact, the word money in Hebrew is kesef, which just means silver. When it talks about buying a slave, talks about using silver. When it says that you can beat your slave, but if you accidentally kill your slave, it's okay because he is your money. It uses the word kesef for silver.
Okay.
Money and silver is the same thing, just like bread and food is the same word in Hebrew. Lechem in Hebrew just means bread, but it also generically just means food. Silver was the same way. Silver was the money. So yeah, they're going to use silver for redeeming people. They're also going to use it for buying slaves. They're also going to use it for buying food. They're going to use it for everything. Like when you have a universal money, you can tie anything to it. But there's nothing like specifically in the Bible suggesting that there's a symbolic use of silver as being redemptive. Obviously, if you're going to redeem somebody for money, you're going to use silver because that's the currency.
All right, I will concede the point.
Fair enough. What we're talking about?
I don't know why I was supposed to know that silver and money meant the same thing, but anyhow.
That's why you shouldn't rely on ChatGPT. It doesn't know what it's talking about.
Yeah.
It's worse than the message.
I like both of those, so I don't know what to say to that.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
I'm going to continue.
Right.
Whatever it is we're doing. We stopped at
You read verse 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were discussing whether or not there was a reason why silver seemed to be used on these structural elements, but not any of these decorative elements so far. But the only theory I was able to come up with was, silver tends to tarnish.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense that you would use it for structural elements and not for decorative elements. But that was the closest I can get to a good answer.
Well, they might have used silver because it's neither radioactive nor digestible. No, I'm just saying that's a property of silver.
You think they knew that silver was not radioactive? They were aware of that?
Well, they didn't eat it and die.
You know that our utensils for a long time were made of silver,
And so they didn't eat those and die either.
right?
What are we trying to say here?
I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say. What I'm saying is,
I'm just saying, if it was made out of gold, people might have tried to eat it.
you think people were eating gold?
I don't know. It was poured down people's throats at times. Similar. All right. Fondue. Gold fondue. All right. Let's continue.
Right. So my only theory is that the silver is used for structural and non-decorative means because it tarnishes and eventually doesn't look very good. Right. And when you have like the base of something, it's going to get dirty and messy. It's like going to be sitting on the ground.
It's going to be dinged up by all the people kicking it with like wheelchairs and stuff.
Sure.
No, that's true.
Wheelchairs?
Whatever they had back in the day. But you get my point.
Do you think wheelchairs in the sand?
And
I mean, they have chariots.
oh, that's what I just said. Chariots.
You said wheelchairs.
I changed my mind.
Oh my gosh. What are we doing? Okay. We got to read.
All right, let's do 11 to 13.
11 through 13. Right. Let me get back here. Okay, 11 through 13.
All right.
Right.
Likewise, for the north side in length, there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, and its 20 pillars with their 20 bases of bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be of silver. For the width of the courtyard on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits with their 10 pillars and their 10 bases. The width of the courtyard on the east side shall be 50 cubits.
Not very big.
I don't know.
50
honestly,
cubits.
I can't really envision this,
This is
No, you said a cubit is like a foot and a half? Like 18 inches?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I'm asking.
It was about 75 feet.
So, what? No, you said a cubit is like
18 inches?
18 inches. Okay, so
And there's
75
50
feet.
of them.
Okay.
About 75 feet.
Okay.
Okay. So we got a courtyard of a width of 75 feet. A length is a little bit longer. I forget how long the length is. But here's the deal. It's not a huge tabernacle like courtyard.
Well, this was for the tabernacle, the big one.
For the courtyard. Yeah.
Well, that's where the tabernacle lives, right?
Well, this is the tabernacle.
So the tabernacle has a courtyard inside of it?
I'm saying the whole complex is just referred to as the tabernacle.
And the courtyard is referred to as the tabernacle too?
Courtyard is a part of the tabernacle.
The outside.
Yeah.
Okay. So how big is this room right here?
10 by 15?
Oh.
Maybe.
That doesn't help at all then. Because I thought you were going to say maybe like 75 feet. So it would be similar.
Well, for reference,
Mm-hmm.
the outer measurement of the house we're in right now
Mm-hmm.
is about 20 by 40.
What?
Because my house is tall. It's not a ranch. Rather than being laid out flat, it's laid out vertically.
Right.
So the house is only 20 feet by 40 feet.
And this one is, you said 75 feet, right?
Yeah, 75 probably by 150 or 200 or so. I forget what the measurements
So it's really
are.
high up?
What?
So the tabernacle is really high up
I have
then?
no idea why you included height into this equation.
I thought you were.
No.
You said 20 by 40, so it's like 20 by 40.
So my house is 20 by 40
That's what I said, yeah.
because it's not a ranch.
I know, but I thought you said 40 was the height.
No.
What is it?
It's obviously the width.
Well, then what's the 20?
The length.
Length.
There are 3 measurements in 3 different directions. We only need 2 of them.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a coordinate system?
Okay.
Why do you think I'm measuring the verticalness of the courtyard of the tabernacle?
I don't know. Just you.
Okay. Crazy off the rails.
Okay.
Okay. The long and short of it is, pun intended, this is an awfully small space for 2.5 million people to share.
Well, obviously they're not going to all go there at the same time. Can you imagine?
Obviously not, but I'm saying it really doesn't seem like
Well,
it can accommodate a lot of people at once.
So you said your house is 20 by 40?
Yeah.
And what was this again? 75 by what?
I don't know yet. I forget.
Just guess.
I don't even know. It's 75 by 200.
200, huh? All right, so 75 is the width and 200 is the length.
If we can accept 200 as the length. I actually forget what the length is.
So that would be like the size of 2 of your houses?
You're not terribly far off, actually.
Okay, you don't think 2 million people can be in 2 houses?
Somehow I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't think we're going to fit 2 million people into my house.
What about 100,000?
I don't even think we're going to get close to 1,000.
No, in both of, if this house and there was another house just like it. I mean.
All right, so here are the measurements.
I'll just answer.
From the New Oxford Annotated Bible. And they've got a measurement of the outer courtyard of being 50 cubits by 100 cubits. So that's 75 feet by 100 cubits then would be double that, 150. So it's about 75 by 150 feet.
Okay.
So not huge.
So it's like 2 of your house, right? Is that what we decided?
A little more than 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So like just imagine it takes up the space of my house and my neighbor's house.
It's tightly packed. You could get 4,500 in there. So that's not 2 million.
No. As it turns out. You're short just a hair.
I would have thought more at least though. Maybe 1,000 is more than I think it is.
And remember there's people in there doing things. Like
Yeah.
you can't just fill every spot with a
Right.
human. It just seems like an awfully small setup for such a large number of people.
Well, was this meant to be taken down and moved?
Yeah.
Then that's probably right.
Not hard to move when you got 2.5 million people.
That's what I said about
The size shouldn't be a problem. That's what she said.
That's what I said about the stone stuff. And you're like, oh no, it's going to be too heavy for them to carry. And I said, there's 2 million people to carry it.
How do you, it's not big enough to get 50 people underneath of it.
Why not?
No.
Because
it's only 5 cubits by like 6 cubits or something.
Well, I don't know. They each take a hand. Distribute the weight really thin. Then it's like a pound. All right. Anyhow, so I don't know why it's so small. How's that? That's just.
I think the reality is there wasn't 2.5 million people there. You know that. We both agree on that.
But I thought we were pretending.
How many people do you think was actually being serviced at the tabernacle?
Well, maybe 150,000.
Maybe.
But that's a fair guess.
I agree, actually.
All right then.
Yeah.
But
I think
that's still more than 5,000, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, because even the city we live in only has about 150,000 to 200,000 people.
No.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Look at the population data.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. How many people do you think lived here?
Maybe 600,000?
No.
You don't think?
Or we can't be any more than 200,000.
Okay. That doesn't matter, really.
Well, what is it?
Doesn't matter.
What was it?
That's like 200,000.
I told you. Okay. So we live in a pretty large city too. 200,000 people. And like, could you imagine if all 200,000 people had to utilize like one church?
Yeah, there are like 1 million churches here.
Doesn't seem like it would really work out. That's why we need so many churches.
Yeah, I get that.
It would seem more realistic to think that there would have, if there was really that many people out there, this would have either been way bigger or there would have been more than one of them.
So what is your suggestion?
I don't think there was really that many people out in the desert. I think there may be a couple thousand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
I do think there was a bunch of people that left Egypt, though,
How many?
and went out into the desert. A couple thousand.
Oh, just a bunch of them died?
Well, I don't think they died. I just don't. So I think they integrated with some of the Midianites, and then they became numerous and moved into the hill country of Judea.
Mhm.
And then during the collapse of the late Bronze Age in the middle of the 1100s, when society collapsed, the nomads that were wandering around in the Negev and in the land of Midian and whatnot, I think they moved in and took over the territory.
Well, there had to be more than 5,000 because they were in Egypt and there were becoming too many of them. They were beginning to overwhelm the Egyptians.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
It says it right there. We read it.
I don't believe that's the case, is what I'm saying.
So you're reading between the lines of the
No,
Bible is what you're saying.
I'm using archaeology as my guide.
Whatever, man.
I think the whole Exodus narrative is like a mythological retelling of a story that probably was much smaller and less grandiose. Probably a couple thousand people left, and Pharaoh probably didn't care as much as we're told, and they probably just started over in the desert and became numerous enough to take over the Judean lands and then integrate with what was left of the Judeans and rise to power.
Except for the fact that the Egyptians went into that Red Sea and died.
I don't think that happened either.
You just don't think anything happened, huh?
Well, we've extensively been in the Red Sea. There's nothing down there.
Yeah, but I think I've shown you how that parting can actually happen for real.
We absolutely do not agree on that. I do not believe that a giant wind parted the waters and carried 40 billion red berries into the land of Egypt.
Well, that's too bad.
I remain unconvinced.
Oh, okay, fine.
Not that it's not a delightful berry hypothesis.
Yeah. I love my berries.
I'm sure you do. All right. Let's read our next section.
Yes. All right, what are we at?
14 through 19?
Sure.
Okay.
The hangings for the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 bases, and for the other side there shall be hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 bases. And for the gate of the courtyard there shall be a curtain of 20 cubits, of violet, purple, and scarlet material, and fine twisted linen, the work of a weaver, with their 4 pillars and their 4 bases. All the pillars around the courtyard shall be joined together with silver, with their hooks of silver and their bases of bronze. The length of the courtyard shall be 100 cubits, and the width 50 throughout, and the height 5 cubits of fine twisted linen, and their bases of bronze. All the utensils of the tabernacle used in all its service, and all its pegs, and all the pegs of the courtyard shall be of bronze.
Boom.
I remember what happened. I wrote these notes last week.
Okay.
And at that time, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Right, which is why your notes say blah, 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 blah.
Nothing
blah,
else.
blah, blah.
That's right. And then I revisited it later, and I was like, okay, I'll do real notes.
Right. Yeah, it took a while for the Holy Spirit to talk to you.
Something like that.
Okay, so as we already discussed, it's 50 by 100.
You know what this actually tells us, though, is that priests in that day, not that day, but that day when they were writing this, were absolutely loaded.
You would think so.
Right? Because you're telling me they're like, okay, here's what we have now. This must be what they have back then. Let's write about it. They're saying right then and there they had a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
I have a thought.
All right.
Okay, so the leaders of Israel are collecting all this silver and gold and bronze, right?
Yeah.
What percentage of them you think were like pocketing the offerings?
I bet none of them.
You think?
Well, they would get smoted.
That's a fair point. At this stage, God does seem like he's in the smiting business.
Well, I mean, yeah. How many different things? Well, I guess those people haven't died yet from the ark, right? Touching it on accident.
Yeah, Uzzah?
Or touching the holy fire or something.
Yeah, that's Leviticus 11
Or
and 2 Samuel 6, I think.
Getting drunk and going into the temple or something, the Holy of Holiest.
Yeah, that was Nadab and Abihu from Leviticus 11.
But none of this happened yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay, so what were we talking about?
Whether or not God was going to smite a priest if he took some of the silver and gold. Seems like something he would do.
I mean, looking back on it, I mean, we would say, yeah. But I don't know if they would have known that. Still, after all the miracles God performed, I wouldn't want to give him a little off the top.
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea, especially since you're still dependent on him for the manna and quail.
Yeah, what are you going to do with a pocket full of silver?
But it does bring up a good point, which is that theoretically they have no food, which is why they need the manna and quail.
Right.
God is about to ask for a whole lot of animal sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they getting it from?
The quail.
Totally not.
What do you mean?
They're not sacrificing quail.
I don't know what they're sacrificing.
Goats, bulls.
There must be
pepper.
There must be stuff, around the area.
Yeah, but for 2 million people.
Are we? Oh, okay. So now we're going back to there being 2 million.
I'm saying, according to the Bible, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, but in the Bible, there's a lot of exaggerating everywhere.
I don't know how much were there. All I'm saying is that if they had so little food, they needed manna and quail. It seems weird that they would have enough animals hanging around to make all these sacrifices.
Well, that's probably why they didn't have any food.
Maybe that's it. Maybe God's now that you're out here, your food is my food.
Right, yeah.
I'll take the barbecue. You get manna and quail.
Yeah. I mean, that's possible, right?
I mean,
that would show a lot of faith in God.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like they're almost getting the shaft there.
I don't think so.
God promised milk and honey.
Manna is basically honey bread, right?
Kind of, yeah. I bet it tastes pretty good, actually.
And quail tastes like milk, right?
I've never had quail.
Well, like a glass of it, I mean.
I assume it tastes like chicken.
It's a
bird.
It sounds good, though, doesn't it?
Okay, so they've got chicken and honey bread.
Yeah. That's milk and honey right there.
Basically chicken and waffles.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Okay. So the Israelites are living on chicken and waffles, and God gets to barbecue.
Yeah, that's more than fair.
Fair enough.
For me, at least.
Yeah, I could live with chicken and waffles.
Yeah. I don't need no barbecue.
They probably had syrup.
They might have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
We did it.
All right, let's do 20 and 21.
20 and 21. All right. And you shall command the sons of Israel that they bring you clear oil of beaten olives for the light to make a lamp burn continually in the tent of meeting outside the veil which is before the testimony. Aaron and his sons shall keep it in order from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a permanent statute throughout their generations for the sons of Israel.
Indeed.
I got a lot to say about this.
Let's have it.
So, do you think olive oil comes from olives? Because I think it does.
It does. Yes, it does.
Okay. So, okay.
Did you think it came from something other than olives?
Well, hold on. All right.
He's a school teacher, by the way. The future of our youth depends on this man.
All right, hold on. So does this mean if I were to buy a jar of olives and crush them up, I could use the liquid as gas or whatever?
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't have olive oil fueled cars then.
Well,
for all this doom and gloom over running out of fossil fuels, no one ever mentions all the alternative and renewable energy sources. I mean, olives are a renewable energy source.
Yeah, I think it would be impractical to grow enough olives, to harvest enough olives, to create.
So you'd rather just dig into the ground and get dead fossils.
I would.
I doubt olive oil is even like you can drink olive oil. You know,
Yeah, I've done it.
you shouldn't drink gasoline though.
No, you don't want to drink gasoline.
Yeah, so it'd be safer for in the environment for everybody.
Right, but you can't get enough olive oil to power all the
Right,
vehicles.
just grow more olives.
You don't. There's not even enough water to grow that much olives to make gasoline.
Water is also a renewable resource.
Turns out it's not.
No,
Talk
it
to
is.
California about that one.
Listen, I don't know anything about California, but it is a renewable resource. You don't lose water.
You need the
You
water.
don't lose it.
You have to use it.
Yeah, but it comes back.
It doesn't. That's
I
the
mean,
problem.
I mean, the same amount of water that was here when the Earth was formed is how much we have. True?
Vaguely true.
Okay.
And you need how much to grow olives?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Do you think that all of the water on Earth we can just harness into one geographical location to water the olives? You know, you
mean-
can't use salt water.
Well, we can filter it out.
Okay, so more energy. You know, it takes a lot of energy to desalinate water, right?
We'll use windmills.
So we're going to create energy to make a lower form of energy.
Uh-huh.
What do we gain by doing this?
It's,
No, burning oil can be toxic too, right?
well, not boiling olive oil.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, people eat olives.
Over 450 degrees, virgin olive oil becomes toxic. So you already have to burn more energy just to refine it to the point where it loses its toxicity. That's why you can't like deep fry in virgin olive oil. You have to buy high temp olive oil
Why?
because it's toxic. You're not supposed to cook in olive oil over 400 degrees.
So what's virgin olive oil? Just oil with no olives in it? That doesn't make any sense.
Virgin olive oil is basically just pure cold pressed olive oil, which is what they would have been using here, actually.
Okay, so what's the alternative? What's olive oil without virgin?
These olive oil lamps would have been poisoning them.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Really? Oh.
But I mean,
it sounded so healthy.
Not.
It sounded like it. I mean, if you're using like a vegetable, it's
a little bit better. The long and short of it is, though, that olive oil is flammable. You can use it to make lamps. It's got a lower energy density than the oil we get from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But even the oil we get from the ground needs to be refined in a way to give it a higher energy density. Like if you just take standard oil from the ground and you light it on fire, it's not going to do what gasoline does. It's going to have a different reactive nature than gasoline.
You couldn't just pour it in your car?
No.
Would it break your car?
I don't know if it'd break it, but it certainly wouldn't run.
But if you put like diesel on it, it breaks it, right?
Break is not the right word for it.
It isn't?
No, it just wouldn't run.
Oh, it doesn't destroy the engine?
Diesel doesn't ignite the same way gasoline ignites. Diesel ignites under compression. Gasoline ignites under
You just need
spark.
to drain your gas compartment holder fuels.
You can just drain it, yeah.
Okay, so I thought if you put diesel and then you started it up, it would just destroy the engine.
And that's not, no.
Oh.
This wouldn't run.
I wonder why I thought that.
I don't know.
That's pretty weird.
It could really mess up your timing because it can detonate at the wrong time. But I don't think the average gasoline engine has enough compression to pre-ignite the diesel so that it would ruin anything.
You know what I think? I think verse 21 is kind of long.
You think?
Don't you?
It says, in the tent of meeting outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall keep it in order from evening to morning before the Lord.
Period. And then they can go to 22.
It shall be a permanent statute throughout their generations. I don't know why you're always trying to break my bookshelves.
So
if you break my bookshelf, you have to repair it with silver bases.
Oh, no. I'll mix it with zinc. All right, listen. So I thought if that's a long verse, maybe there's another verse in the Bible that's longer.
There's quite a
Do
few.
you happen to know what the longest verse in the Bible is?
Give me a second to think on it.
Okay.
Is it in Psalm 119?
No.
Oh, what is it?
Esther.
Oh, the longest verse is in Esther.
Yeah.
Which one?
8, 9.
Chapter 8, verse 9?
Yeah, we go, yeah.
Oh, how long is it?
It's 90 words.
90 words?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that, actually.
Yeah, well, I don't know what Stephen Langton was thinking.
He was drunk, apparently.
Look, I checked
well, it's
the
this guy that did diversification.
I know.
Okay, so now we got to talk about Esther.
Okay.
I had no idea there was a verse that was that long. Verse 9? Holy smokes. It doesn't look that long. There's 90 words in that verse?
I mean, the computer wouldn't lie to me.
It's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 in the first line.
Okay.
And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 times 12. If we use a round number, it's pretty damn close to 90. That's a pretty long verse.
It is.
Yeah. Esther's a wild story. I mean, okay, maybe we'll end on this note.
All right.
Okay, Esther. Think about the story of Esther. Do you remember it?
No.
You've never read Esther?
No.
Okay, so in Esther, there's a persecution against the Jews around the time of, I think, Artaxerxes. And Esther is being taken care of by her uncle, Mordecai, I believe. And the king needs a new wife. And so he sends out a message for everyone to,
What happened to the old one? Or he just wanted
that's at the
another
beginning of the story.
one?
And I don't recall
Okay, never
anymore
mind,
because I
it's
haven't
fine.
read it in a long time.
All right, it's fine. Go
So
ahead.
he sends word out in the whole kingdom looking for wives. So basically there's these auditions, right? So all these women are going to get beautified and then selected for the auditions, and then they're all going to audition to be the wife of the king.
Mhm.
And it kind of seems like the audition includes, little.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this was the mechanism by which God chose to save his people, because Esther auditioned, ended up becoming the queen,
Oh, okay.
and then essentially through a little bit of trickery, because there's a villain in the story. He gets impaled at the end.
Oh.
Haman. Through a little bit of trickery, ends up saving her people because she has favor with the king, because she's like this little, hotty-toddy new wife.
Right.
And so the whole story is kind of like how God used a little girl to sexualize a king to save his people.
Okay.
Which seems like the weirdest way to save your people when you're reading Exodus. Because in Exodus, he's just sending plagues and splitting rivers and smiting people.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to Esther, God's got to do this weird stuff. Like, rather than just like having the king change his mind, he's got to like send, this little virgin girl.
Why did they just cut this one out of the Bible then?
Well, I'm sure it was just part of their heritage, and the Jews were really sentimental about their heritage. They didn't throw anything away.
It sounds so salacious.
Hell, even the Song of Solomon's canonical, and that's
Yeah.
rated X. I mean, talk about fondling breasts. Like
Okay, we're done here. We're done.
It's in the Bible. It talks about
I appreciate that.
how
but
her breasts are like the twin fawns of a gazelle.
I know, but I doubt the YouTube censors care about that.
I'm just saying, the Bible's not, it's not as.
No, I heard about this congressman that got a bunch of books out of schools, and then they had to remove the Bible too.
Well, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Funny.
There's stuff in the Bible kids should not be reading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Although I've got the kids Bible with me.
Yeah.
Here's the
That's not
the
it.
Sparkle Bible. Yeah,
Oh.
it's the International
There's a
Children's
Princess Bible too.
Edition, and I assume the
Is
Song
this-
of Solomon's not redacted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this different than the Princess Bible?
No, it reads the same.
Okay. Is it okay?
Which I've got with me too. Where did I put the Princess Bible?
I don't know, but it's pink, so it shouldn't be too hard to find.
Yeah, it's around here somewhere. It might be behind me. Yeah. Oh, you get the Princess Bible. Isn't that a cute one?
It is very cute.
Okay, so
What pages?
Song of Solomon is
that
going to
the
be right after Ecclesiastes. It's near the wisdom literature, like Psalms, Proverbs,
By Esther?
Ecclesiastes.
By Esther?
No.
Before that?
No. Yeah, way before Esther.
Oh, really?
Sorry, not in the English. Sorry, I'm thinking in the different Bible, in the Hebrew text. Okay, give me a second. You want right before Isaiah. There we go. There's
Okay,
Song of Solomon.
what's the right verse for that?
All right. Let's see. About the breasts.
Right.
Actually, it turned out I haven't memorized that passage. I don't know exactly where it shows up.
Kind of surprised.
But we can look it up.
All right.
Right. If we go to,
and this guy was a player, wasn't he?
I mean, Solomon had some ladies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you can find the first reference in 113, but the one we're looking for is Solomon 4:5, and it says, "Your breasts are like two fawns; they are like twins of a gazelle, eating among the lilies until the day dawns and the shadow disappear." At one point, it talks about her neck being like the flanks of a horse too. That's romantic, isn't it? You ever tell your wife, "Hey, you're looking like flanks of a horse today"?
Like a little horsey.
You think she'll like that one?
No.
Chapter 7, verse 3 has the same thing. Actually, if you go to 7:3, it says, "Your breasts are like two fawns; they are like twins of a gazelle, and your neck like an ivory tower." Oh, he's really laying it on thick. "Your eyes are like pools in Heshbon near the gate of Bath Ribbon, and your nose like the Tower of Lebanon." Can you imagine if you told a woman her nose is like the Tower of Lebanon? She is not going to like that at all.
Unless it's a nice looking tower, I guess.
So, I'm just saying.
You know what I think?
Hmm.
I think I don't understand why this is a children's Bible then.
Because it says breasts?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, children know what breasts are.
I could have just called them like no zones. That makes sense.
Anyways, I think children are old enough to know, what's going on.
I'm gonna put this Princess Bible back.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Your cheeks are like slices of pomegranate.
Ooh, that sounds yummy.
Very romantic.
Wait, is that or no?
I don't know.
I mean, because pomegranates, I think it tastes good.
It is kind of sweet, yeah.
I haven't, yeah. I think I've just had the juice though.
Right. Well, I think that's it for the week. Next week, we've got a long chapter. So we're going to have a 4-hour session next week, it looks like.
Well, all right, we'll better start at like 5:30 instead.
Sam, we only had 20 verses this week, and it was like an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay, but to be fair, I wrote things down to talk about.
So?
Well, I won't do that next week.
You're going to have to.
Because there's nothing to talk about.
There's always something to talk about.
All right.
We talk about horns again.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be
Sounds
good.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you again next week. We're almost out of the Tabernacle construction. And then we're going to get to some of the offerings and some of...
When do we get back to the story?
Quite soon, actually.
All right. Moses, there's that calf and then pouring gold down the throat, and you know what I mean?
That's coming up really quick, actually. If we go to, I think, 29 is going to be our last chapter of like nonsense laws.
Yes.
Let's see. At 29, we have the priest consecrated, and then we get the sacrifices. And then I think 30 is we get close to the story picking up again.
We get close to it.
30's got the incense offerings.
Man.
31 talks about the craftsman actually building it.
Oh no.
And then 32 is where we finally get the golden calf.
All right, guys, come back in 6 weeks.
So, we're almost there.
Really not. All right.
It'd be really exciting stuff.
No, it's not.
I'm pumped.
Well, fine.
But think about it, by the time we actually get through it, you will have read all the words.
Yeah. It's a good
No one's going to get anything by you.
No, they won't. They won't. People are already talking about Genesis. I'm like, no. But I don't know how to say it, so I don't say it.
Literally, the only thing you need to do to sound smart in a Bible study is to literally have read the book, because nobody's reading it. Nobody's reading this thing.
Yeah.
So that's all you got to do is read it. Especially not the Old Testament. People aren't reading the Old Testament.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you in a week.